Hi diddly ho, internet. I just realized I still forgot two things, and I don't know if I'm gonna set up to do a whole nother recording, so we'll see. We'll just go through it. It's also a little weird for me because I did today's video yesterday, and then today's video is gonna be tomorrow, so trying to make sure these are spaced out so they hopefully don't bump into each other. But today I thought we would talk about the Cosmo. We'll do a follow-up to that because this one essentially the Cosmo Elite was the first one I reviewed a long time ago. And I had a smooth one, just a smooth, polished one. Gave that to my brother, so he had some WooSah. Ordered myself a new one, ordered this bad boy here. And then obviously I've since painted it up. But I've just realized every Elite 608 I've ever had has been, or sorry, every Elite Cosmo I've had has been a 608. So this is mine. Now this is not the bearing that came with it. I had an issue with the bearing. And I don't think it was anything from WooSah, just it had gotten a little bit of rust in it, but it didn't have rust in it when I got it, and it didn't have rust for the longest time. So it doesn't seem like it got rusted, you know, from them. So this is some 608 bearings that I bought real early in the spinner game, planning on maybe trying to make my own spinner. So I de-shielded it, cleaned it. Feels pretty good. It's a nice, just a skateboard bearing, nothing crazy. But it's pretty smooth, actually, all things considered. And then again, this is the Cosmo from the Orbit. So this is the Zen with these little rings. This is the Orbit with this Orbit pattern. And again, this is a 608. I think this is... Now, I know WooSah's had some issues with their 608 bearings and using different manufacturers, so I can't say if this is a WooSah bearing that they've gotten, and if, you know, even if it is, it's not necessarily going to look like all the other ones. So, and then, because someone was chatting yesterday about 608 bearings, and I agree with what you were saying. It just happens that all the Namastes and Chakras I've played with have been 608s, 188s. And then this is, I believe, a hybrid ceramic. Those balls look pretty black to me. So... And yeah, so let's talk about the the Cosmo again. Or not the Cosmo. Yeah, the Cosmo. And then this is the Zen pattern on the Cosmo. So two Zens. So you can see what this kind of looks like. Now this is obviously the 29. This is the one I had yesterday that old Horace wanted me to polish up. See, copper. See, polish it up for me. See. So, nice and polished for you there, Horace. Pretty good. I might have messed in the groove a little bit on a couple of these, but the patina didn't look bad. I mean, it looked a lot of like what you're seeing on here, just a little bit, because this is sort of like a machine finish on the edges, a little bit darker, but chakras are so good, man. But yeah, what can we say about the Cosmo? So I mentioned it way back in the day that I found that this was one of the most fidgetable spinners, and it still is a very, very fidgetable spinner. It's still up there, and depending on your fidgeting style, it's going to be still kind of hard to dispute that. It still kind of stands up to that fact somewhat over time. So this is my first time trying these aluminum buttons with this lip, and I gotta say I like these a lot more than the stainless steel versions. I don't know if it's the WooSah etched in there or what it is that makes it a little more grippier, but they feel a little grippier. And then let me tell you, if you don't have any 608s, there's something about a 608 bearing that just gives you more feedback. Now these are probably coming across very noisy, I would imagine. I know in person bearings that seem pretty quiet still seem to pick up some audio, especially when you bring them close. The audio seems to highlight that sort of stuff, which is why I try to lean in like this to get some nice quality audio for you. But I'm basically hunched over and it's really awkward for me, so I try to do this, and then after time I'll just kind of naturally fade back, and then we're where we are. So but I know it sounds better if I try to stay in close. So but yeah, so these still, everything I said before holds true here. These got some essentially chunky, tall buttons, so that they just gives you plenty of room for wherever your finger needs to be, wherever your hand needs to be. Your fingers don't accidentally bump into it. It's really easy to fidget with, but yeah, you don't have any accidents. Especially with this Cosmo, everywhere you go, you're going to get right in between the little grooves for a nice finger pull. You almost can't get your finger to settle in the top because it just kind of wants to slide down into the middle anyway. See if I can get a top pull. Yeah, you can't really do it unless you purposely place your finger there. And even then, it's still all right. But especially like this, I find you can, because of the clearance, and I mentioned this last time, you can really get your finger way up there, which makes the index finger pulling a lot easier, right? I don't have to worry about this finger hardly touching that. So it makes this kind of fidgeting really, really nice. And then the copper just has a little extra weight, so let's weigh them. Well, we're running into that same problem again, internet. Let's move. So many WooSahs, so little room. 86.5, 82, and 80. So this has a little more material cut out, so this 80 to the 86 is probably a little more fair than, again, these are pretty narrow grooves and they're not very deep, where these are pretty substantial little cutouts you can see there, all things considered. So, all right, get out of the way, Skato. So the copper, see, so the copper in particular is nice. Now, I actually like, it's very satisfying to get some decent patina, but let me tell you, it's also very satisfying polishing and taking it off. So last night I was looking at this, and I'm like, again, like I said, the patina didn't look that bad, but then when you polish it up and you get back to that shine, you guys know my feelings on polish. It just feels very, very nice. So, and it's just nice to try and feel it in a different material. For me, with the weight and the size and the fidgetability, you know, I don't feel like there's enough of a difference to get one over the other than personal preference. So if you like copper, you like patina, or you like polishing things, then the copper is definitely for you. See? If you don't, then get the stainless steel. I don't feel enough of a difference in weight or fidgetability or anything like that. Although, you know, I don't know if I've even tried, like I was saying, I think other than the aluminum, that's the only 608 Cosmo that I've tried. So I don't know how much my opinions would change on the 608 versus the 188, but I know that Cosmos in particular are, I feel like a 608 in a Namaste would be pretty amazing. I'm not gonna lie. You don't get a WooSah. I don't know of anybody in the WooSah land that's really out there for spin time. Again, you can get really decent spin times from the Shocker and the Boss. And if you really want spin times, then these are the ones to go. And I think they've done 608 Chakras. I don't think they've done a 608 Boss. But I think 608, like, for WooSahs, where the magic is most of the time. You know, I kind of got hung up, like I think a lot of us did early in the spinner game, where your first experience with like a hex super bearing, right, or a one-drop bearing kind of gets you a little spoiled, and like you're like, oh, that's so neat, that's so cool how smooth it is. But after a while, that kind of wears off. You know, when I first got into spinners as well, like this little wiggle and tolerance kind of bothered me a little. I really wanted it to feel tighter. But now that I'm getting used to spinners, I really appreciate it feeling a little loose and feeling fast. So even if I'm not worried about spin time, I really like that kind of looseness and speed and low friction feeling that you get. So, and let's bring it in just one more time. So take a look at that Cosmo finish, or that Celestial finish. I know you guys out there like that. You know what I haven't seen a lot of, though? There's my little nick that I did. I haven't really gotten much feedback in terms of how these are holding up. So I don't know if people are getting them and then just afraid to spin them. And I mean, that's fine, because then they're not getting damaged. So don't feel like you have to spin them. But I feel like I haven't gotten a lot of feedback in terms of, are they holding up? Which I imagine they were. I think if they were chipping or falling apart, someone, I would hope, would say something to me. But if you did get one of my Celestial Dreamers, let me know. Take a picture of it, post it up over on the WooSah page. Let me know how it's holding up for you. Let me know if you actually spin it from time to time, or it just sits in a little pouch. Again, I tried to get a durable clear coat so that you can fidget with it, you know, so rather than dropping it, or again, maybe some weird stuff on your hands, right? You eat a bag of Doritos and that grease, I don't know what that does to the clear coat that I'm using here, but again, it feels pretty durable. I mean, I'm hitting it with my nail here, and unless I'm really, really going in, it's fine. So yeah, and while it was my first one, there's something about it. I've kind of changed the technique from how I did this one a little bit on how I'm doing them now, just for the sake of trying to get them consistent. Oh, and I did nick that a little bit there, but that was, again, like a nick, not the finish wearing off. But yeah, very pretty, very nice. So, yeah, I don't know what else we can say about these. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that these are good. Again, oops, see that? What is that? I think it was a weird thing happening with the phone's focus. Focus! What is that from? I can't remember what that's from. Weird Science, maybe? Focus! I don't know. Someone tell me what that's from below. I think I've asked that before, and I think someone told me, and I can't remember. I just know it's a line from a movie, so it's just how we go sometimes, internet. So I should say the spin profile on this is kind of nice. It gives you, like, oh, I guess you're kind of seeing it. You get these, well, you're getting actually a little bit more almost like a warping, which actually looks pretty cool on the camera, I'm not going to lie. I noticed that the concentric circles this one does sort of looks like it's vibrating in person. And we're getting good, I don't know if I mentioned, but I parked the car different ways so the sunlight's behind me, but it's also very overcast. But it does these like kind of cool, like shaking concentric circles, which is kind of neat, where these obviously are pretty pretty solid, just the 2 concentric circles that you get. Again, also a really cool pattern. So yeah, and I think I started, you know, we like to tangent around here. I think I was starting to talk about 608 bearings and the smoothness of 1-drops and such, but after a while, you kind of really, I really kind of come around, and I think it's the same sort of thing where people, you know, I mentioned like the evolution of the spinner enthusiast, where you start with that kind of, for me, it was obsession with tries and quads, and I didn't really like bars, and then probably around the time I got the Grave Raven, I started to really get an appreciation for bar spinners. And it's the same sort of thing. I think now I'm starting to really appreciate a bearing with some good feedback. So you can hear this, it almost sounds rattly. And I guess it does sound rattly, but it's more the smooth vibration that you get from this. Again, this is a little noisy, so depending on your circumstances, you're not going to be able to necessarily spin this at your desk at work, or, you know, while your wife's at home sleeping or anything like that, or, you know, your kids are sleeping, whatever the case may be. But it's very satisfying. It's a very satisfying, soothing kind of a thing. So almost like white noise probably is why it's so soothing. It's just kind of a, you know, a low, even frequency. It's probably not even that low, but it's just kind of like a consistent frequency, like, you know, static or ocean waves or something like that, raindrops. Look how good that polish looks too. The 29, man, I tell you, the copper that they're using is nice. So yeah, I think that's all we got to say on the Cosmo. Again, just kind of revisiting it, doing a more in-depth look over time. How has it stood up the test of time? And as with most of my stuff, my initial impressions pretty much don't change a tremendous amount over time. So still super fidgetable, great in a 608 format, gorgeous looking spinners, tons of designs. We know all that stuff. So yeah, this has been a revisitation, more in-depth review, or more, you know, thoughts after time of the old Cosmo. So, and again, really good for when I talk fidgetability. This is one that you can have in your hands and not think about, right? Some spinners, you really want to think about this. You just close your eyes, you got it in your hand, you almost forget that it's there, yet your fingers are just jamming on it nonstop. So yeehaw. Rock and roll there, internet, rock and roll. We'll see you tomorrow. I guess tomorrow we'll do, for me, in just a minute, this one. I forgot to bring mine from home, but it's too late, so we're going to talk about this in a bit. So see you tomorrow, guys. Kisses. Should we give them all a big spin? Try not let them bump into each other. Leave you on a spin. Oh, those 608s don't spin long. All right, kisses, internet.